Have you ever wondered why suffering and injustice exist? Why, in a world that seems so full of beauty and possibility, do we also encounter pain, loss, and unfairness that seem impossible to explain? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why do the innocent sometimes suffer while the wicked seem to prosper? These are questions that echo through every generation. These questions are as old as humanity itself. From the dawn of civilization, people have wrestled with the mystery of suffering and the silence of the divine. Thousands of years ago, a man named Habakkuk dared to ask these very questions directly to God, refusing to accept easy answers or platitudes. His honest, raw conversation is recorded in the book of Habakkuk, a short but profound part of the Old Testament that still speaks to us today. Unlike other prophets, Habakkuk doesn't simply deliver God's message to the people. Instead, he brings the people's deepest questions and doubts directly to God, voicing what many are afraid to say. He's confused, angry, desperate for understanding, and he doesn't hide it. His prayers are filled with emotion, honesty, and even frustration. Habakkuk sees violence and injustice in Judah, and can't reconcile it with his faith in a just God. The world around him seems to contradict everything he believes, so he takes his complaint straight to God, demanding answers, refusing to let his doubts drive him away from faith. This sets the stage for a powerful lesson: trusting God, even when we don't understand, and learning to wait for answers that may not come right away. As we journey through this ancient text, we'll see how Habakkuk moves from desperate questioning to unshakable trust, discovering hope in the midst of uncertainty. His story is a guide for anyone lost in doubt, showing us that we are not alone in our struggles or our questions. It teaches us that true faith isn't the absence of questions, but the courage to hold on through them, trusting that even in the silence we are heard and never abandoned. We know almost nothing about Habakkuk's background. No family, no hometown, no lineage recorded in the scriptures. He appears in history almost like a shadow, a mysterious figure whose personal story is lost to time. What we do know is that he was a prophet deeply burdened by the evil and injustice he saw all around him, a man who could not ignore the suffering of his people. His name Habakkuk means to embrace or to wrestle, a powerful image for someone who both clung to God and struggled with him over the world's brokenness and pain. Scholars believe he lived in Judah during a time of moral collapse, just before the nation's fall to Babylon. The world around him was unraveling, and hope seemed distant. Habakkuk saw his society crumbling and couldn't understand God's silence in the face of so much suffering and injustice. Unlike other prophets, Habakkuk's main audience is not the people, but God himself. His words are directed upward, not outward. His book reads like a personal journal, a legal argument before heaven, filled with raw honesty and searching questions. He's not afraid to challenge God, demanding an explanation for the gap between God's goodness and the harsh reality of evil he witnesses every day. Habakkuk isn't a skeptic. He's a believer struggling to hold on, wrestling with doubt but refusing to let go of faith. His wrestling is a sign of deep engagement, not disbelief. It shows a faith that is alive, questioning, and real. By speaking up, he gives us permission to bring our own confusion, doubts, and pain before God, showing that honest questions are part of true faith. Habakkuk's spirit is clear. He's a man of conviction and questions, not resignation. His story invites us to wrestle honestly with God, trusting that even our struggles can lead to deeper faith. The book opens with a desperate cry, "O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear?" These words echo through the ages, capturing the agony of waiting for God to respond when suffering seems endless. Habakkuk is at his breaking point, surrounded by violence, injustice, and a world that feels like it's falling apart. He sees chaos everywhere, and it feels as if God is nowhere to be found. The law is paralyzed, justice is never served, and the wicked seem to trap the righteous at every turn. The very systems meant to protect people are failing. This isn't a polite or rehearsed prayer. It's a raw, honest outburst from a heart weighed down by suffering, confusion, and disappointment. Habakkuk can't understand how a holy and just God can watch such sin and remain silent, seemingly unmoved by the pain of his people. His question, "How long?" is universal. Anyone who's seen evil go unpunished or suffered without answers has asked it. It's a cry that transcends time and culture. He's not doubting God's existence, but wrestling with God's apparent inaction, struggling to reconcile faith with reality. Habakkuk holds God to his own character, reminding him of his promises and pleading for God to act according to his nature. This chapter validates our experience of suffering and confusion, showing that even the faithful can feel lost and overwhelmed. Faith isn't about always having answers. Sometimes it's about shouting into the void, daring to voice our pain and questions to God. Habakkuk shows us that honest struggle with God is more faithful than polite indifference. Wrestling with God is a form of trust. He lays his broken heart before God, creating space for all who feel the same to bring their pain, doubts, and questions honestly before the Lord. After Habakkuk's complaint, God answers, but not as expected. God says, "Look among the nations. I am doing a work you would not believe." God is at work, but his solution is shocking. He will use the Babylonians, a ruthless nation, to judge Judah. The Babylonians are described as fierce, swift, and terrifying, an unstoppable force. God's chosen instrument of judgment is a pagan empire. This answer stuns Habakkuk. Yes, Judah's sin will be judged, but by a nation even more wicked? It's like using a wildfire to put out a candle. God's plan seems to trade one injustice for another. This is a lesson in God's sovereignty. He can use anyone, even evil empires, to accomplish his purposes. For Habakkuk, this is deeply unsettling. He wanted a simple solution, but God's answer brings more questions. The prophet's confusion deepens into a theological crisis. God has answered, but the answer is hard to accept. Habakkuk reels from God's reply. God will use the Babylonians to punish Judah. He affirms his faith. "Are you not from everlasting, O Lord my God?" But he's troubled. How can a holy God use a nation more wicked than Judah as his tool? The Babylonians are idolaters, cruel, and arrogant. Habakkuk uses a metaphor. Humanity is like fish, and the Babylonians are fishermen, catching and rejoicing over their prey. They worship their own power, not God. Habakkuk asks, "How can you let this wicked empire devour those more righteous than themselves?" He resolves to wait for God's response, standing watch in patient faith. He's not walking away. He's waiting, watching, and listening. Habakkuk has wrestled with God, and now he waits for clarity. As Habakkuk waits, God speaks again, not with explanations, but with a revelation. God tells him to write the vision plainly for future generations. The vision will take time, but it will come. The core message: the righteous shall live by his faith. God contrasts the proud, like Babylon, with the righteous, who trust him. In chaos and injustice, the way forward isn't full understanding, but steadfast trust. Living by faith means trusting God's character when his actions are unclear. For Judah, it meant enduring judgment with hope for restoration. This principle became a cornerstone of faith, quoted by Paul to explain justification by faith. God's answer is an invitation to trust, not a detailed plan. God doesn't stop at faith. He addresses Habakkuk's concern about Babylon. He pronounces 5 woes, curses, on the arrogant, violent empire. The first woe, against greed and exploitation. Their stolen wealth will turn against them. The second, those who build with bloodshed will see their work consumed. The third, humiliators will drink the cup of shame themselves. The fourth, their idols are lifeless frauds, unable to save. The fifth, a climax. Idols are worthless, but God is in his holy temple. The message: no evil, not even evil used by God, will go unpunished. Empires fall, idols fail, but God remains enthroned. In his presence, all human complaints fall silent. The final chapter shifts dramatically. Habakkuk is no longer questioning, but awestruck. He prays, "O Lord, I have heard of your work. In wrath, remember mercy." Habakkuk recalls God's mighty acts, how he saved his people before. Remembering God's faithfulness builds his confidence for the future. Yet, he admits his fear. My body trembles. My lips quiver. He doesn't pretend to be fearless, but he resolves to wait quietly for God's justice. Even as disaster looms, his faith is stronger. Habakkuk paints a picture of total devastation. No crops, no livestock. Yet, he declares, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation." God is his strength, not his circumstances. Habakkuk's journey ends with unshakable trust. He finds joy not in changed circumstances, but in God himself. Our world feels as chaotic as Habakkuk's: conflict, injustice, broken systems. Like him, we ask, why and how long? Habakkuk's ancient book remains relevant, giving us language for pain and a roadmap for faith. First, God is big enough for our doubts and questions. Faith isn't about pretending, it's about honest wrestling. Habakkuk shows we can bring our hardest questions to God. Second, the righteous shall live by faith. We want instant answers, but faith is trusting the planner, not knowing the whole plan. Habakkuk's story is one of transformation, from anxiety to joy, not because circumstances changed, but because his perspective did. He found strength not in stability, but in God himself. This is Habakkuk's legacy: hope and joy, not in the absence of storms, but in God's presence within them.